Okay, so congratulations on a big win over Anthony Yarde there.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Prior to this fight, we talked about Anthony Yarde, and you said you weren't not underestimating him.
Not at all.
Um,
It was a good move not to do that.
it sure was. I mean, like I said to you before the fight, some boxing fans were not giving Anthony Yarde a chance, but he sure fought his ass off.
Right. Right. You know, people are foolish. They're foolish, and that's why you take a guy like Tyson. You take anyone in history. At least a small reason of the reason that they eventually fail is because everybody tells them how great they are, how they're unbeatable, and oh, you fight, you can name anyone, and everybody, oh, you're gonna kill him, you're gonna kill him. The other guy's a fighter as well. He's not coming there to lose. He's got skills. So overlooking Anthony would have been foolish. And if Artur wasn't the type of guy that he is, if he didn't train like he does and keep that mentality, that would have been a super, super, super tough fight, and it might have been a problem. But Artur, the good thing for Artur is he prepares. He doesn't care if he fights your grandmother. She's going to get the best of Artur in that ring.
I also hear now some of these boxing fans saying that because the fight was somewhat close, competitive, that Beterbiev might be losing a step or two.
Listen, understand something. People need to realize what's happening. You're in with a fast guy. He's fast. He's athletic. He can hit hard. He's got moves. He's hyped up because he's in his home country, his hometown, whatever. You're going to have issues. It takes time to break certain people down. That's exactly what Artur did. He didn't show, to me, he didn't show signs of slipping. He showed signs of being intelligent and taking his time. And you're not gonna fight everyone the same way. And with Yarde being as fast as he was and explosive as he was, and he has good power, you have to take your time. You can't just go running into stuff. So we fought, Artur fought a good fight, and if Artur was, it's funny, like picture Artur, and Artur was 23 years old, and that fight happened, and he was 23, and he fought exactly the same. People will go, oh, what a good fighter. What a good fighter he is. He's up and coming. He's going to be the man. But because he's older and he didn't blast him out like he did the other guys recently, all of a sudden he's slipping. No, he's showing his intelligence and superior boxing. People will say he can't box, but then he boxes and takes his time, and all of a sudden he's slipping. I mean, people are crazy. People are crazy, and they don't realize it. It's nuts. I mean, there's an expression, you can't win for losing. And, Artur, no matter what strategy he implemented, there would be people saying it was the wrong one, or he's slipping. Like if Artur traded with Anthony toe to toe, they'd say, oh, he's slipping. He got hit a lot. He was getting hit. Well, of course he would get hit, because Anthony's probably a faster puncher and explosive, and he would have caught Artur before he bought it in the end. So Artur, it's a good thing for us that Artur doesn't care about people and the internet and what they say, and he doesn't go on the internet. He's not on Facebook. He's not on, internet and watching what people say. He doesn't care. And I think in reality, he knows what he's dealing with. People are either ill-informed, or they're haters, or, they just want to talk just because they have a platform to talk. And, a lot of people, they can't believe that the internet is a thing, that they're able to say whatever they want, and people can actually read it. You know what I mean? So they just throw stuff out there, their opinion. But like I say, you got to be smart in this game. You have to know what you're looking at. And Artur, we knew Anthony was going to be difficult stylistically, and that we couldn't slip up. And a lot of people think, oh, Artur should have just went in there kamikaze and crushed him. And no, man, that's why Artur's the world champion, because he knows how to prepare and how to approach certain people, and he respects his opponents. And so I don't see what some of those people saw.
There's hey, it's Mark. I'm saying that if this fight went the distance, that Beterbiev might have lost. He might have got robbed because the scorecards were all in favor of Yarde.
Right. Well, it was close. They had it close, but the thing is, like, that round was going to be a 2-point round. If he got up and made it through the round, and just like I've said a million times, the last 6 and the first 6 with Artur are completely different fights. So if Anthony was going to win rounds from 8 to 12, well, more power to him. You know what I mean? Because I don't think so. And so if it went the distance, Artur was going to finish strong. Of course he was. I mean, obviously he was. So I don't think we lose the decision, even though we might have been behind on that point. But Artur was obviously going to come on. That's his MO. That's what he does. And that would have been a 2-point round. But luckily for us, we didn't have to worry about getting robbed.
But going into someone else's backyard, anything's possible. You know that.
Yeah, of course. We knew that. But it's so hard to believe that that's still a thing. Like it's bizarre if you say that. Would be like, imagine if a baseball team went to another team. The Yankees went to play, the Angels. And the word is, the Yankees playing against the Angels, those umpires it's going to be a strike, but they're going to call it a ball. You know what I mean? Like, it would be insane. Like, those guys would get fired. Those umpires would get banned for life if they cheated like that. But in boxing, it's just an unwritten thing. Like, yeah, you might get robbed over there. They might actually steal the fight from you, and nobody gets punished for it. It's really an insane thing. It's crazy.
It is. And we've seen it many times in boxing.
Yeah.
We've seen it times. So some of these judges just don't care.
Right. No, they literally, it's almost like they've been indoctrinated. Like they feel like, oh, this is the hometown guy. I've got to give him the edge, for no reason other than he lives within 10 minutes of the arena. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. For me, it's like, you ever hear some things in boxing are accepted by people, but they're stupid. Like, there's an old thing. They say, to beat the champion, you've really got to beat the champion. Now, what does that mean? So, in other words, if I beat him, if I deserve the round, but I didn't make it emphatic that I don't get the round, he gets the round because he's the defending champion, even though you thought I won the round, like if it wasn't a world title fight, you would give me the round. But because it's a world title fight, he gets the benefit of the doubt, even though he didn't win it and you didn't think he won it. How insane is that? That is so insane. But so many people follow that creed because they've been indoctrinated. It's a common thing. They go, yeah, the champion gets the benefit of the doubt. That's so stupid. Like, that's insane. That's ignorant. That's ridiculous. I don't go, but if you lose, you lose, man. Like, I'm not giving you the round just because you're the champion of the world. So I thought you lost, but I'm going to give you the close round because you're the champion. Like, that is so far in gone. I just can't even fathom that anyone would still buy into that.
It's funny you mentioned that because we're gonna talk about Navarrete versus Wilson. I was watching the Mexican commentators on ESPN Deportes. I was so annoyed because these guys are so biased that even when Navarrete went down, they said that Navarrete won that round.
Yeah.
How
You know,
did this guy win that round when he got punished and he got dropped?
right. Well, I heard, I didn't see the broadcast obviously, but I've heard that like in our fight, Tim Bradley was like critical, like overly critical. And I get that from him. I feel like he's I don't know if you call it a hater or what, but he seems to be biased. Even our last fight, when we had the pre-fight meeting interview and Tim was there and he was asking questions with Artur, and I don't think Artur understood the language, enough, the tone enough to realize that Tim was kind of being, I don't know what the word, hate, being a hater, being a little questionable. I don't think Artur picked up on it, but I did. And, Tim, I don't know if he's trying to follow the Teddy Atlas blueprint and he wants to be controversial and outspoken, but, he comes with Artur, he comes across as being unnaturally, unusually critical of this guy. And I don't know. I mean, I watch Artur. I see a guy who's a magnificent, underrated boxer, a killer, a predator, supremely conditioned, very smart, very strong. I mean, if everybody fought and trained and prepared and went to the fight like Artur, boxing would be the greatest sport on the face of the earth. And how you can hate on a guy like Artur is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I've lost some respect for Tim Bradley. I liked him as a fighter. I just don't like him as a commentator.
Yeah. No, like I say, I think he tries a little too hard. That's my personal impression. I think he tries too hard to be. He wants to say things that people go, oh, did you see what Tim Bradley said? That was crazy, and he yells. And I think he's trying too hard. I think it's an act. He kind of puts on an act almost and trying to be this persona. And, I don't think it works.
No, it's turned down a lot of boxing fans that I've spoken to.
Yeah.
But there sure was a fight of the year candidate. We just started 2023, and there's a lot of boxing fans saying that this is a fight of the year candidate already.
Right. It's funny because I heard that. I've heard a lot of people say that. They're texting me, oh, it's a great fight. But the funny thing is being there involved with it, like being in the corner and, being a part of the team. And I couldn't tell. I wasn't thinking in those terms. I'm not watching it like a fan. You know what I mean? I'm watching it for trying to get through this and trying to figure out what to do next. And so I didn't know if it was a great fight or not. But apparently people think it was.
It was because, like I said earlier on, many boxing fans thought that Beterbiev was going to blast Yarde out of there. And It ended up being a more competitive fight, back and forth. And, it was something special. It was something special to see. You know? So credit to both guys. Even though Yarde lost, I respect him as well. Beterbiev also showed his skills. Something that we talk about all the time. I saw a lot of combinations being thrown there.
Right. He was doing things like there's a clip that I had put up on Facebook. My stepson actually filmed it from the audience. And you can see where Artur's in the corner. And he did this numerous times. But we caught it on film one particular time where he's in the corner and Yarde's working. And Artur trades places with him. He grabs him and he turns his body and he spins him around and he goes around. And now Yarde's in the corner and Artur's in control. That's not by accident. That didn't just happen. I mean, that's by design. So Artur's a very smart fighter, and he did a lot of things like that people might not have realized, what was actually happening. But he put on a good performance in that regard. Yes.
I noticed a lot of jabs from Beterbiev. I noticed a lot of body work. I noticed the uppercut. There's a lot of things that a lot of these guys watching just don't see. I don't know if they don't see it or they're just acting like they're blind or what's going on there. Because I
Yeah.
can see it.
Well, Artur. I mean, you know, it is what it is. Like, I've worked with him on his body punching a lot, like a lot. I really, since the first day, he's really improved a great deal with that. People need to recognize that he's, he is a good body puncher. His jab, I think, is very underrated. Like I say, his maneuvering, his technique, his overall boxing ability is tremendously underrated. People think it's just him slugging and, they only see the end result. He gets the guy in the corner and he's banging on the guy, but they don't realize how he was able to achieve that, how he was able to maneuver the guy into the corner. So, that takes boxing skill. That takes real boxing skill.
It does. But now I have to bring up Colin Smith's name just because I'm hearing that's most likely Beterbiev's next opponent.
Right.
And a lot of boxing fans are disappointed because they're still wanting to see that Beterbiev versus Bivol fight.
I mean, I'd be disappointed, if that's what's going to happen. The boxing, that's why my entire life I've never been in the boxing business. I've never managed a fighter. I've never gotten involved with any of that because I hate it. I'm not into it. I don't care about, I want to see the fights that you want to see, that fans want to see. I want to see Artur fight Bivol as much as a fan would want to see him. And that's what, by rights, that's what should happen. Everybody knows that's what should happen. It might not happen, but that's what should happen. And I'm more concerned with what should happen than what a sanctioning body says. Well, this is the fight that makes sense, but our rankings committee said this guy is the next guy. It's just, sometimes you got to use common sense here, and, they don't want, a lot of times a sanction body will not want to sanction a guy fighting someone that they don't deem as the top guy. So it's just, you have a lot of infighting and there's a lot of whatever the word is, jealousy or pride. You want your own sanction body top contender to get the next shot, regardless of whether we even know the guy. So the boxing business is not something I'm particularly interested in or, even care about.
I have to bring this up, and we've spoken about this in the past, but I think the reason why this might happen, this Colin Smith fight, is because Michael Benson, well-known guy in boxing, reported that WBC president Mauricio Suleiman is trying to stop that fight from happening between Beterbiev and Bivol. And of course, we've spoken about this before, and it's regarding the Russian athletes, stopping them from boxing.
I mean, I think people overestimate their position, right? You're not a politician. You're not a government official. It's not your place to step in with this. Now, Bivol, I think he lives in California, right? Artur lives in Canada. They have no, they're not Russian citizens anymore. They don't live there. They're certainly not in the military. The idea that you could punish these guys who have moved away from Russia is insane. It's wrong. And, these guys start playing, I think certain people do too much. They're too much involved. They're into the politics of it all. They're into all this other extra stuff. All we want you to do is put your rankings out and we'll pay you the sanction fee and just be quiet. Like just stay in your particular lane. You know, boxing people are not supposed to be politicians. It's the game is worldwide. And you know, the fact is when the United States did different things that we probably shouldn't have done. You know, we went to certain countries that I think it was proven we didn't belong there. Well, they didn't stop the sanctioning American fighters, you know, because Oscar De La Hoya was bringing in big sanction fees. You know what I mean? So they didn't want to stop him and Roy Jones and different people. So I think when politics gets involved, it gets a little cloudy and it gets a little stupid. And I think people, once they bring that into the mix, it takes it to a whole different level. You know, we've got to leave politics out of it, and that's the end of it.
I agree. I agree. I mean, it's two different worlds. Two different. But I have to ask you a couple questions that are coming in from boxing fans that I know have written to me in the past, and they want me to ask you a couple questions. So I put a list out here, and I'm gonna ask you some of these questions that are coming in.
Okay.
And the first one is from Billy Doubleday, who wants to know if Beterbiev were to beat Bivol, if that fight were to happen and Beterbiev beats Bivol and wins that fourth world title, will he eventually move up, or will he retire, or what will he do? What do you think?
I don't think he would go to cruiserweight. I've never, in the entire time we've been in camps with Artur, and I've been with him for 6-7 years, I've never heard cruiserweight mentioned ever. Now, you know, I don't know if they never told me, but I've never heard it mentioned once. So I don't think so, and I don't think he'd retire. I mean, he's you know, he's still he's 38, but obviously he's in a Bernard Hopkins mold in terms of his mentality and the way he treats his body, and you know, all of that combined. You know, he's not an old 38 by any stretch.
There's another question here from Adrian Delgado. What weight does Beterbiev walk up when not training, when he's not in the gym?
He doesn't get very big, believe it or not. Most guys, I mean, I've known light heavies who got well over 200 pounds between fights. I remember Eric Harding, light heavyweight back in the 90s, 2000s. Eric used to be like 223, 224 between fights. He would get huge. He would get at least 210. I know when I was fighting light heavy, and I'm not a big light heavy, I used to be like 203, 204, you know, 200. But Artur is pretty disciplined between fights, and he doesn't get above 200 pounds. So he's always within striking distance of 175.
At least he's not like James Toney.
Right? Yeah. No. He's you know, he's not a guy like. He doesn't go crazy drinking soda, and you know, he's not that type of guy. So he knows that he has to keep his weight within striking distance. So there's no problem with that.
Adrian Delgado also wants to know: are you training any young prospects that we need to look out for?
No, not right now. To be honest, you know, because I have a lot of things going on other than just training people. So I leave my schedule open for Artur. So he's my focus. You know, when he gets a fight coming, I don't want there to be any, you know, discrepancy if I have to go somewhere else with someone else. So I'm with Artur, and then we have amateurs in the gym and a couple pros in the area that I help, that I train in Hartford. So I'm in the gym constantly with those guys, basically just waiting to hear when I need to go with Artur.
Mark Simmons, who you know,
Yeah.
has a couple of things to say here. What was that conversation that you had after Beterbiev got cut? What was that conversation in the corner once you saw that blood?
To be honest, just like in the Marcus Brown fight, it's funny. It didn't come up in the corner. Like Artur, just like with Marcus Brown when he had that big cut on his forehead. Most fighters would say, they would at least say, "Is it bad? How's it look? How's my cut look?" Right? But Artur never mentions it. It was never discussed. I didn't discuss it in the corner at all. We just worked on it, and Russ was working on it, and that was it. So there was no panic or anything like that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Russ Amber must have said something because he's an expert at stopping those cuts.
No, but there was nothing to say, Russ. Everybody has their job, and Russ saw the cut, and he worked on it. He didn't. There was nothing to say. He didn't need to comment. He just did his job.
A tremendous job. Shout out
for
to
sure. Yes, sir.
My boy Russ Amber.
Yeah, for sure.
Mark Simmons also says Beterbiev doesn't move his head like many fighters do. Is that something that you addressed in training, or do you simply try to embrace his style and continually work on what is working?
No, we work on moving his head. And it's funny because in this particular camp, he was moving his head well, like very well. And, but the thing is, when you get in the real fight, his ultimate objective, his primary objective is to get you. He wants to do damage. So he's willing to sacrifice a bit. He's not going to be Pernell Whitaker, staying on the outside trying to be slick. And, he does what he has to do. And the thing is, Artur, he keeps his hands up pretty well. He blocks punches more than he probably gets credit for. But again, the thing is, Anthony was very fast. He's much faster than most guys at light heavyweight. So, you're going to get caught, especially if you're an aggressive guy, if you're coming in. But I don't think Artur got his hit as much as a lot of other guys would have got hit by Anthony. Artur does have a sense of keeping his distance and circling and, getting in a new position and things like that. So, at the world-class level, professional boxing, I mean, you're going to get hit. And that's just a fact of the game. Unless you're Pernell Whitaker and Lomachenko and these guys, you're going to get hit. That's part of it.
Even a slick boxer like Floyd Mayweather got touched a bit.
Yeah, it happens. That's the name of the game. Like I say, Artur is on the psychological end. Like he doesn't mention the cuts. He knows that's Russ's job to fix the cut. So I guess Artur doesn't feel like it's something that needs to be discussed. So he never, because he's going to keep fighting anyway. So he doesn't need to ask how bad it is or whatever like that. But Artur, he's a good boxer. He knows how to box. And, if he's having trouble, even if he's cut, like when he fought Marcus Brown, the blood was running in his eye, but he was very strategic. He wasn't just coming in face first. So, I think on that end, he knows how to get through for sure.
Actually, that leads me to ask you, with that Marcus Brown fight and this fight against Anthony Yarde having got cut, did that worry you at all? Like, because a lot of times we see that fights get stopped due to cuts, but Beterbiev has shown that even though he gets cut, he's still strong and he's still willing to fight on. But sometimes referees, they'll stop a fight. Does that worry you at all?
Oh yeah, I mean, being in London, it did. You're thinking, well, this is an opportunity for the hometown guy to help his hometown guy out. So, you're always going to have those thoughts. But luckily, I mean, it wasn't, as I recall, it wasn't a really bad cut. Like, it wasn't brutal. I've seen much worse than what Artur had. So, I mean, honestly, it wasn't really a major concern. I don't remember being super worried about it in the corner.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Marcus Brown fight was a cut to worry about.
Yeah.
That was a cut to worry about.
Yeah.
But that was in Beterbiev's hometown, though. So
yeah.
I have David Linder, who wants to know, Beterbiev is your second light heavyweight champion, right?
Yeah.
The first being Chad Dawson.
Right.
How would you compare this generation of light heavyweights to the likes of Hopkins, let's say?
Right. I mean, Artur is a guy who could fight in any era because he brings, superior conditioning and technique and all these different intangibles that could match up anytime, anywhere. But he's gonna, stylistically, a guy like Hopkins would be an issue. I think one thing that might cause Bernard problems with Artur is that Arthur's, more than a natural light heavyweight. Like, he's a big, strong guy. He used to fight 201 as an amateur. So he would, Bernard would have that kind of slick defense, but Artur would be strong and would be punching through that. So I would like that fight, historically, if we could make that. But, I think Artur, with his strength and punching power and conditioning, he could match up with anyone in any era.
And since Bernard Hopkins was just mentioned, imagine a fight between Hopkins and Beterbiev. Imagine that press conference. Do you think that Hopkins, being as nasty as he was at the press conferences with his mind games, do you think he would have been able to get into Beterbiev's head?
Not even a teeny little bit. Artur would not care. This man, he's so far removed. Like, you couldn't play games with him. Like, he comes from a part of the world where that's a joke. Like, it would be foolish to try and play these mental games on him. It wouldn't work. No.
Because Hopkins, he used to talk a lot of trash.
Yeah, but Artur wouldn't talk back. Like, he would just, like, he knows Arthur's a very simple guy, and certain people have a certain grasp of life that behooves them, and it's on another level. And Arthur's the type of guy, he would say, it's just words. It's just a man talking. Like, it doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. And he would recognize how little it meant. Where a lot of guys would be like, "Oh, you see what Bernard said," and and Artur wouldn't care what he said. Like, it would, because he recognizes that it only matters what you do. When it comes down to it, it matters what you do. Because before a fight, everybody says to each other what they're going to do. Right? I'm going to do this, and you're going to do that, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And the reality is, they're usually wrong. They usually don't do any of the things they said they were going to do. So, and certainly half the time, one of the guys is completely wrong because he's going to lose. He's going to say he's going to win, but every fight there's a winner and a loser. So somebody's wrong quite often. So Artur, I don't think, is concerned with that type of thing.
And as you and I know, Beterbiev doesn't say nothing. He doesn't talk much.
Right. Yeah, because he knows, like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, it's pointless to say, oh, I'm going to do this. It's like, okay, all right, you said it. That's but you still have to do it. You know what I mean? You still have to actually do it. So it'd be better to just do it as opposed to saying it.
And if we have time, we'll touch on Benavidez and Plant, because they sure had a lot of things to say.
Yeah, I haven't followed it, to be honest with you. I haven't seen anything about those two. I don't even know, when is the fight. When are they fighting?
March 25th. You got to check out that press
No.
conference.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen anything.
But I'll end off with last night's main event, since you haven't seen Benavidez Plant press conference. I'm not going to ask you about that yet.
Yeah.
But speaking of Beterbiev and Yarde being a candidate for Fight of the Year, the Navarrete and Wilson fight was also another candidate of the year, right? From what I'm hearing. It was a tremendous fight last night. Did you get to watch it?
No, I've been, since I came back, I've been just taking care of stuff, and I've been gone for a long time. So no, I wasn't able to see it.
All right, so we'll talk about another day, but you got to check out that fight. That was another exciting fight.
Yes, sir. I'll check it out.
And before I let you go, Benavidez, I spoke to him going into that David Lemieux fight, and I asked him if he ever thought about moving up divisions to fight a light heavyweight, and he said possibly he might consider it. Who knows? If he moves up, imagine a fight with Benavidez and Beterbiev.
Yeah, I mean, there's good fights there for sure. For him, and but I mean, people are impressed with Benavidez, and rightfully so. But you can't, like I said, you can't forget who Artur is, and he's a little different than everybody Benavidez has fought so far.
And Benavidez also has a tough opponent in Plant, so it's
Right.
not like
Yeah.
it's a sure.
It's not a given. It's not a given. No.
Exactly.
Not at all. All right.
How do you see that fight playing out?
I think Plant gives him problems, and Plant is good. I mean, Plant is very good. I think he gives him problems. I'm thinking Benavidez might, at the end, might be too energetic and strong, and and come through with bigger shots eventually. But I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't. I'm not super confident that Benavidez beats him. I'm not sure. I like Plant. I think Plant is very good, and it's definitely gonna be an interesting fight to watch.
It sure is. It sure is. And I give this a 50-50 fight.
Right. Now listen, I just noticed the Silk Michael Olajide is watching, and I don't know if you've ever had him on your show before, but I think he'd be a tremendous guest. I don't know. Have you had him on yet?
I got to get him on. I actually have a Ring magazine of him on the cover.
Yeah, well, no, but have you had him on the show yet?
No, not yet.
No, listen, Mike, every fight, big fight, he puts out this thing where he recaps the fight and previews the fight, and really interesting, deep stuff. I think you might like. I think you should reach out to him. And hey, Michael, he's gonna reach out, man. We're gonna get you on this show. I think he'd be a super guest.
Yeah, I'll definitely get him on. I still have that Ring magazine I bought many years ago with him on the cover.
Right.
And before I let you go, I haven't forgot about what you mentioned in our last show, Marlon Starling versus Johnny Bumpus. I'm just about to watch that.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I told you what Luduva did.
Don't tell me what happens. I gotta watch that for myself.
Oh, okay, yeah. Check it out.
I'll check it out. Good having you once again.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.